Hello once again, Tennessee. This is the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee. They are the co-founders of Allon Planning Partners. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Jay, Brittany, how are you both doing? Brittany, I'll start with you. Having a good week?
I'm doing great today. Great week.
We're getting lots of phone calls from the television program. Jay, how about you? We're fielding those calls.
We're staying busy, but we're having a great week, and we're having a great week because we're staying busy with these phone calls and helping folks out, so it's great.
Right. Well, there's a main reason, unfortunately, why I think our phone lines are remaining busy, because today we are going to be talking about how do we get recession-proof, what's going on with inflation, and more importantly, solutions for you, our viewers, right here in Tennessee. We hear the numbers being broadcast all around the country, more so what it means right here in our local area, but I'm curious the kinds of solutions, the kind of phone calls, the kind of questions, more even the kind of worry that you're getting right now. Let me ask, what are your clients calling and asking you about with all of this negative news that we're hearing out there about the inflation and recession?
Well, we're getting phone calls on everyday living expenses from, we have a lot of clients that do have fixed income, but we also have a lot of clients who have more than enough to cover their monthly budget, but they're seeing travel go through the roof and leisure and things that they really wanted to do and spend their retirement on costing them a lot more. And so we're having to reshuffle what the plan looks like for their retirement in some cases. If they haven't had a plan, some of the people that are calling us and say, we just thought we had enough, right, to last us through. Now things are costing 3 times as much as what we thought they were going to cost. So we're having to field the questions, okay, let's go back to square one. Let's see the buckets of funds and assets that you have. What does your lifestyle look like, and how can we make this fit in today's environment?
Right.
So that's what we're getting. I mean, because inflation has hit the highest level in over 40 years.
Yeah.
I mean, usually we're trying to keep it between 2 and 3%. We've seen 6, 7, 8, 9% inflation rates year over year, and it's got to get under control, or a lot of people are going to be in a tough spot.
Yeah, and we recently read a survey just done by American Advisory Group, and 66% of American seniors fear that economic inflation will damage their retirement. And I have to target this, I have to flag this. The concern is especially higher among widowed or divorced women, in that 72% of women in that category are expressing this worry and this concern over how inflation is going to impact their retirement or their expenses.
Part of the why, when you say single or widow, especially the widowed part, this is something I think I learned from you about taxes. You go into retirement married, your spouse passes away. The insult on top of injury is a year later, you now have to file single.
That's right.
So your taxes go up, you're receiving less in Social Security, and now with high inflation, it's almost like a terrible perfect storm for those in retirement, especially those single in retirement.
It really is. That's why it's so important to consider how inflation can impact your retirement plan and the income that you have established, because it certainly does. It absolutely does.
Well, let me ask you right here, the two of you together. It would be wonderful if you both lived to the age of 110 and you pass away together holding hands, but more likely, he's motorcycle Jay here is going out.
The way he enjoys his cheeseburgers, he will probably go before me.
But are you taking that into account in your financial planning? 100%. I once had a caller call in and say, do we do separate plans for us as husband and wife, because she's going to probably live longer? Or how do you take that into account as a variable?
Great question.
No, we take it into account, and I think that's why people that come to our firm appreciate working with us to begin with, is because they have a woman's perspective. Like, they're not just meeting with me and, I'm giving them one perspective, but Brittany's able to say, well, the majority of the statistics say that the women are going to be here a little bit longer, so we need to make sure, number one, they know what's going on within their financial plan, which a lot of times folks don't. They keep those things separate. But then as well, that they're covered well, that the long-term care expenses, that everything that they need to have a successful financial plan is covered from that lens.
Yeah, and it should really go both ways. I mean, whether one spouse or the other handles all of the finances, it is so important for the other to really know what is going on. If something were to happen to one where the other could pay the bills or access funds from the retirement account or whatever account they have as needed, those things are just of utmost
I don't
importance.
think Brittany's going to take me out on purpose or anything, but yeah, we do plan in a way in our
80-20.
household.
Not today, maybe not today.
Not
I
today.
mean, I'm not doing
Ask
anything
me
today,
tomorrow.
right? But we do plan in a way to where, okay, if I'm not here, which statistics say I won't be here, what's going to cover you? Are you going to be okay to continue? How are our kids going to function in
And
that
for some of the viewers out there, we totally understand. These can be uncomfortable conversations to have, but from a friend of mine who's also in the industry says, look, none of us are getting out of here alive.
That's true.
So we need to plan for
That's
it, and
true.
we want to make sure that you can do it with choice. One of the other statistics, though, you had shared with me, Brittany, was that 53% of retirees say their expenses are higher than
That's
they
what we're saying.
anticipated.
A lot of people expect their expenses in retirement to go down. But
Right.
they just assume, well, I don't need as much, or I'm gonna,
Not driving to work, and we're not needing to buy new fancy
Sure.
clothes and so forth.
But
But
so
there's other
often-
expenses that go up.
Exactly. So often that's not the case. Maybe you want to travel and you don't consider how inflation has impacted that industry. I mean, you're talking 20, 30, 35% for some of the
Look at gas
travel
prices alone.
industry.
You know, we've seen way big swings, fluctuations in gas prices, energy prices, just to be able to travel. So we're seeing it affect everyone, and I think that statistic's actually a little flawed because I think it's higher than the 53% of
Right.
retirees
Right.
with the conversations that we're having with folks.
And
Within
it's
our
a very
experience, it's
simple
higher.
scenario as well. You might say to yourself, well, we can go down from 2 cars to 1.
Right.
What does a new car cost? What does a used car
That's it.
cost
Oh,
today?
right.
Used cars we're up something like 50% year over year. It was insane. And so if you're looking to buy a car, most people are looking new now because used car prices are just outrageous. So yeah, you have to take all these things in consideration as you're getting closer
Or
to
even
retirement.
things like, well, my house is paid off, but what if I may need a new roof? You know, we
Oh,
had a
exactly,
recent
the
client
new roof.
experience that lately. I mean, you're talking a $25,000 expense
Which
that
bucket
you
should I choose
didn't
from?
plan for,
New
right?
carpeting, new plumbing. What happens? Something happens with the plumbing, new
Always.
heating systems and so forth. So
And that
all
is
of these things.
that is one thing that we tell our clients. You've got to plan for the unexpected.
That's right.
There's so many things you don't know when they will occur, if they will occur. We're assured change will happen. Things will be thrown at us that we did not expect, and we have to plan for those things. And that's what we offer. We offer a complimentary consultation to allow us to sit down together and review where you are, to ensure that your tax scenarios in order, to ensure that you're not overpaying in fees, to see how inflation is impacting your retirement and income, and to ensure that for all you women out there who may be single or newly single or divorced, that you are covered in scenarios that we've discussed today. So important. So we'd love to offer you this complimentary consultation. Feel free to give us a call today. Our number is 866-691-7317. Give us a call. We'd love to sit down with you, make an appointment to talk through the specifics of your situation.
Absolutely.
Jay and Brittany, we're going to take a very short break. Please take advantage of the offer that Brittany is talking about right here. Let's review your retirement situation. We know that we are in the midst of a recession. The inflation is still hanging around. What do you do about it? What are the solutions? One of them is call the phone number you see right here and get your own complimentary review. More of the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee when we get back right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee. They are the co-founders of Allon Planning Partners right here in Tennessee. Of course, as we just did right before the break, we always want you to know, the viewer, that you can get your own complimentary retirement plan review by calling the phone number you see here, or use that QR code that you see on the screen. Open your phone and go to the photos there. When the phone picks it up, you can click on it and it'll take you right to their landing page where you can learn more about the team. Today we're talking about inflation and the recession that we're floating around. It's not the worst recession we've ever seen, but obviously it's not great. The inflation harder. I know none of us have a crystal ball. What do you see in the near future? Is this going to be going away, getting any better? What should we be doing near term the next maybe 6 to 12 months?
Personally, I think we need to stop and put a plan together for where we're at. And that's why we offer these consultations to folks, is because right now when things are rocky, when things are volatile, when you're on the fence of a recession, as you kind of put it, it's like, well, we're kind of not seeing the worst recession, but it's a recession nonetheless because it is taking us into negative gross domestic product year over year. So if we're going into the negative, we need to make sure that we're prepared for it, that our asset allocations are correct, that we are realigning our goals to focus on that. We saw a statistic earlier that 25% of retirees are putting the brakes on retiring right now because of what we're walking through. So that's alarming, and I think they're doing that a lot because fear. It's fear-based. It's like, oh my goodness, all of this stuff is coming out of, is it an '08 again? That's everybody's question. Yeah. Is that where we're at? And I do not think we're there. But what I do think is we better have a plan and prepare for the worst, because if we plan for everything as much as possible, we'll be surprised by very little.
And something that we see all too often, we talk with individuals and they have large sums of money in cash because of the economic conditions, which they consider that to be a safe place to put their dollars.
That's true.
But the problem with that is inflation, exactly what we're talking about. They are actually losing purchasing power because those dollars are just sitting there.
That's right. They're going backwards.
The longer they sit there, the more they lose their value.
Right.
So there's other ways to utilize that and to diversify and to...
Yeah, so the answer is to not take out all investments. That's not the answer. The answer is not to throw all my cash under the mattress, right? Because we see that a lot.
We do. I will add to that though. We do recommend you've got to have an emergency fund.
That's
like,
different.
okay,
that's different.
that is very different.
And maybe a little bit larger during a period like this.
Absolutely. So start there. If you don't have an emergency fund, that's a great place to start. Begin building and adding a sum of money that you have 4 times like this. When something comes up, you need to pull some cash from somewhere. You've got cash available to pay for unexpected expenses.
Have to have a little bit more in these times. We typically tell folks 6 months at minimum expenses. So whatever your expense number is monthly, try to build that up to 6 months over time.
Right, and especially if we're still working, there is the possibility in recessionary times of being laid off for a period of time.
That's right.
Statistic I've read before is it usually takes 1 month of searching for every $10,000 you want in salary. So if you need to replace a $50,000 job, it might take you 5 or 6 months. So when we're talking about building up that cash reserves, what does your family need in lifestyle? How much safety do you want? But moving everything over to cash during this kind of time, you're losing
becomes
against
unnecessary.
inflation.
Yeah, and the core of that is fear. Everybody's so afraid. There's so much fear circulating. Everywhere you go, there's fear. There's something to be afraid of at our schools. There's something to be afraid of everywhere with the economy and the markets. And that's what we want to address. That's why we call this show the Allon Exchange. We want to exchange those fears for some peace and some security, some ease of mind. So you don't have to stay waking up at night and not being able to sleep because of these things. You don't have to live in fear. You may feel that fear right now. You may be experiencing that fear. Pretty normal. We all are to some extent. But the good news is you don't have to stay there. That's the power of a plan. When you put a plan in place that considers all of these factors, you're able to rest easy and to know, hey, I can take peace. I've got my bases covered. I've planned accordingly.
So for somebody though who might be I don't know, looking at retirement or maybe even pushing it off now. I wanted to ask you, if we are in the midst of a recession and they are at their 65 or 66 and they're ready to retire, how can we prepare the average American right now for a recession and retirement?
Well, number one, I think you have to be truthful in the situation and say your retirement is going to maybe cost a little bit more than we thought it was 5 years ago, just because of inflation, just because of where we're at right now. And it's okay, even if some folks have to delay a little bit, it really depends on their lifestyle, what they're looking for, and it depends on their assets, right? Because your assets have to match your lifestyle in order to not just get to retirement, because I can get a lot of people to retirement, it's staying retired for multiple years because we're all living longer. So we have to plan for longer retirements. So I would say in these periods, we want to be truthful. We want to hold the mirror up. That's our job, is to hold the mirror up and say, here's your assets, here's your lifestyle. They either match for retirement right now and we can ensure you being safely through retirement, or maybe we need another year or two salary, especially with the unfortunate situations that we're in, to get you through retirement. And so it's us having truthful conversations with folks. I think that it's appreciated in these times.
And there's a lot of things we can't control. We can't control inflation. We can't control the market cycles. We can't control whether we're in a recession or not. Those are things outside of our control. So if we try to control those things we cannot control, we will then be controlled by our lack of control.
That's right.
Which just is like this.
It's a cycle.
Yeah, it
It's
just
a
breeds
vicious
such,
cycle.
yeah, it breeds such chaos, you know. And so we can combat that because there are some things we can't control. We can't control how much we're paying in fees. We can control how much we're
risk we're taking.
investing for retirement. We can control how much risk we're taking within whatever stage of life we find ourselves
That's
in.
right.
So when we do all that we can do, we have to just rest easy knowing some things we just can't control. But we're going to do our part. We're going to do our due diligence. We're going to be prepared. The wise plan ahead for the future. We're going to do that and set ourselves up for the best success we can.
I think that's one of the main reasons why I love doing the program with you both, and what I enjoy about your firm is, yes, we can address what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the news, but then you bring it back to the fact all we can control is the things that we can make choices over. Those fees, what is our risk? So let's focus on personal finance. It's more personal than finance, right?
That's right.
We've got to focus on the personal. What does your family need? What does your house need? What are we doing? And that's what you want to focus on. I know that we can do a complimentary review. Folks are worried about the recession, so what sort of things would you be able to address in doing a review?
Well, when you come in, it's a really relaxed meeting. There's no pressures or schemes or anything like that. We just want to get to know you. We want to know who you are. We want to know what lifestyle you're leading right now and what you hope to lead in retirement, right? So we're going to take a look at all of your assets, your investments. We're going to see if you're appropriately allocated for your risk tolerance, if your risk is right. Are you taking too much risk or are you taking too little risk, right? We talked about both of those. We're going to look at the fees that you're paying on those investments. Then we're going to take the assets that you have and build a true income plan. We're going to help you maybe maximize Social Security and make sure that each bucket that we have for your income plan is optimal for you. Then we're going to look at the tax planning, because nobody likes paying Uncle Sam too much money, right? So we're going to make sure that the taxes are efficiently planned. We're going to look at an estate plan, making sure that your funds, they're going to last you even after you're gone, and they get to the appropriate places that you wish they would go to.
Yeah, and I'll just add, that's again why we call this the Allon Exchange. We know that there are natural transactional exchanges that occur within our industry. That's going to happen. But what we want to offer is this relational exchange. We want to connect with you. We want to hear from you. What are your goals? What is it that makes you tick? What brings you life? What are you wanting to do with what you have? And we want to help formulate a plan to help you get there. Maybe it's giving. Maybe you want to be able to give some of the assets you have and make the most of it that way. Whatever it is, we want to come alongside of you, partner with you so that you can do that.
And then just to tag that one more time, we are a family-based firm on purpose.
Right.
We did not go to work for a big box retail firm on purpose, because we want to ensure that we're connecting with families and doing our due diligence and the best by the families that we serve.
Yep.
So that's our heart, that's our goal.
So with that, feel free to give us a call today. We'd love to sit down with you. Our number's 866-691-7317. Give us a call today. It'd be an honor to sit down with you and take a look at your situation together.
We're going to take a very short break and continue talking about how you can get your plan recession-proof with Jay and Brittany Hagee of the Allon Exchange and the co-founders of Allon Planning Partners when we get back right after this break.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange. Today we are talking about how we get ourselves recession ready with our investments, especially for those who are heading into or are already retired, and it can be difficult. We talked about some things throughout the program. Maybe let's do a quick review. What were some of the things we want to do to make sure we are recession ready, especially in retirement?
So one is making sure that we have a plan, right? The first one is making sure that it's not just an investment vehicle that you have, or that you're not too heavy in one or the other, but you actually have a plan for your financial future. That's number one. Number two, I would say have an emergency fund that's a little bit more cushion than we typically would recommend. So at least 6 months worth of expenses in an emergency fund. And one of the main things that I know we've talked about even on and off the show is people not overreacting to where we're at right now. Because our finances, whether we want to admit it or not, a lot of emotion goes into our finances. And so we can make rash decisions based on fear of the past or fear of what might be or fear of the unknown. So we can make a knee-jerk reaction and pull all assets out of one class into the other thinking that's the safety net or vice versa, right? But I would say don't overreact emotionally because that's not good planning, right? If you have a good plan, it should focus as an anchor to you to know that you are balanced right. So even when the ship is rocking, that it's not going to capsize. You're not going to fall overboard.
You still have that
You still have stability in the midst of it because you've planned well and because you have proper allocation and budgeting within your finances.
Yeah, and we've also talked about inflation and how that impacts our everyday living, how that impacts our retirement and our savings and planning for the future, and how over time we're required to have more as inflation grows and grows. So that's something we definitely have to consider when looking at this overarching plan, is how inflation impacts our income.
Right, but I'd also like to address, I just think there's a lot of people out there who watch the program and so forth who are worried, they're scared, they're confused, they're trying to do it alone, and the emotional aspect, it's real.
Yeah.
I know you deal with the numbers and the investments and the taxes, but is it also a little bit of holding hands and walking people through the darkness and saying you're going to be okay?
It absolutely is, and I've got a story for this. This is related to our family. Our son plays soccer. His name is Jax, and he loves to play. But
he's quite good.
He is.
I'm a proud dad. You know, it's good.
From an outsider's perspective.
He's quite good. I mean, we're going to put him in the major soccer league.
Unbiased
So,
opinion.
Yeah, but he
Unbiased.
plays soccer, and he was super excited about starting the season. Well, we get to the first day of practice, first day of the season, and he's hesitant. Oh, I don't know, I'm a little scared. what if I don't know anybody there? What if the coach doesn't like me? What if things don't go up? What if I'm not as good as I think I can?
All the things that go through a 10-year-old's
All
mind.
the fears.
Yeah.
Now, some of those fears are warranted. He may get there and not know any kids. He may get there and doesn't know the coach. But some of the fears are just this, out of control, unwarranted, just fear of anything and
Unknown.
everything.
Yep,
So
that's right.
we sat down with him. Hey, bud, it's going to be okay. Let's talk through some of these things. Well, what if you don't know anybody? Well, if you don't know anybody, it's a great opportunity to meet new friends. Just processing through what that scenario would look like, addressing the what ifs. So it's the same thing with our finances and the clients we sit with. They have fears. We're going to acknowledge a lot of those fears are warranted because we don't know what's going to happen. So we're going to address those fears, but we're also going to put a plan in place to say, hey, how are we going to address this if this does occur? Just like we did with Jax. Hey, buddy, if you get there and you don't know anybody, here's some things you could try to make new friends, right? It's the same way with
It's
our
truth.
finances.
When you speak truth into the fear, you can dissipate a lot of that.
Yes.
And so we speak truth that, hey, your plan is secure, you're stable. We have allocated you correctly in ups and in downs. Whatever this market throws at us, we're going to have stability because we put our nets at all places, right? So I think when we speak truth straight to a client, they can express that to us because we have fears at times, right? So when we express our fears, we try to speak truth into it to dissipate it because the truth is it's never as bad as we think it's going to be.
And we were having a great discussion one day. I think one of the biggest things, whether they're calling and asking you about the recession, or they're calling and asking you about inflation, or they're calling and asking you about long-term care, or what is their asset allocation, I think the overall question that they're actually asking usually is, are we going to be okay?
Am I going to be okay?
Am I going to be all right?
And you help do that by taking a look at the numbers. So sometimes just picking up the phone, calling and talking with somebody who
bring
does
the
it
peace
all
of
the
mind.
time, bring that fear
That's
out of the
right.
darkness into the light,
That's
and
right.
you're able to actually
Yeah,
review
just
this.
address it. That's right. Sometimes when we just address and acknowledge those fears, it's just like, okay, I processed that. I got it out, and let's work towards creative solutions now, right? It doesn't have to remain this all-controlling, force within us. We can acknowledge it. Hey, this is how I feel. Let's put some plans in place to address those fears.
So for those who are worried about recession, hearing about inflation, all those red chyrons we're seeing down at the bottom of our screen talking about fear, what would you like to say to them before we wrap up today's program? What can you do?
I would say take peace, and here's how you take peace, by understanding the truth. And sometimes you need someone to bounce that off of. You
Right.
need a mirror, right? And that's who we are. You come in, we're going to shine a mirror on what is true. And 98% of the time, it's not as bad as you think.
Yeah.
So we'd love to take a look at your investments, your portfolio. We would love to give you peace on your taxes, your estate plan, your income plan, that your money's going to last throughout your retirement. And that's what we do at Allon Planning.
And with that, feel free just to give us a call today, 866-691-7317. We'd love to sit down with you, talk through your specific situation, be a resource for you, provide creative solutions for where you are.
right.
Jay and Brittany, thank you so much for addressing the recession and inflation today. Moreover, for giving us solutions. Call the phone number you see right here for your own complimentary review. More of the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee once again next week. Thank you for watching.